Hello, good afternoon. 2 o'clock on the dot. I made it live at 2 o'clock on the dot here this Sunday. We're live here on the Rythmia Facebook page, but clearly not live at Rythmia. We are live from my, what would I call this room? This is my spare bedroom in my condo slash my workout room slash my reading nook slash my guest room, storage space, and reading nook. And we're coming to you live from here today because we are still on holiday at Rythmia. We are closed right now to guests, and we're doing upgrades and renovations to the hotel right now to better serve the great, wonderful, big groups of souls that we're going to be welcoming again at the end of this month. I believe it is September 29th that we reopen. Let me check my calendar here. It'll be Saturday, September 29th that we welcome our next round of guests. So that's not far from now, since today is September 9th. Today's 09/09/18, which is super exciting. So September 9th, 9/9, 2018, 1/8 = 9. So we're actually celebrating 999 today, which is super cool. It's a great number if you guys are into numerology and the power of numbers. I'm not claiming to be an expert in that realm, but I do know quite a bit from personal experience about synchronicity and just the amount of crazy synchronicities that are happening in my life right now as far as numbers are concerned. So 999 is pretty exciting for me. Who do we got watching? We've got a few people watching already. Asan saying hello, Anise, Mel is saying hello, Lorena's watching, amazing. So not only is today September 999 and we're coming to you live from my house, but it's also a new moon. I think today is actually the new moon. So I made a couple of quick little notes because I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about today. Food for thought. This is all just food for thought, good vibes. But with this new moon, there was a couple of notes. I was doing a little bit of reading over the last few days about this new moon, and two things that really jumped out to me that I wanted to share in this Facebook Live before I get more into the topic of my talk today. And this isn't going to be a super long Facebook Live, by the way. I'm going to try to keep it super short since I'm just talking. But the new moon in Virgo that we are celebrating today, one of the first things I read that really resonated for me was that this new moon invites us to anchor into our wholeness. So that was really big for me with stuff that I've been working through personally in the last week. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But it also said that this new moon provides a stabilizing, I can't even read my own writing, a stabilizing force, grounding us in the restorative power of connecting consciously with our own life and taking responsibility for what we find there. So this means a lot to me and what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. You may have noticed that I have some more notes here. I made notes because I want to try to focus, because you guys, if you watch every week, you realize that you've probably witnessed me kind of like a gnat with my attention span. So in the essence of trying to keep this live not too long on this Sunday, I did make some notes. If you do follow me on Instagram, I did make a post earlier this week with a food picture. Oh, I can call it up right here on my phone with the technology. I think I may have just made it in the last couple of days, because I have been away down in Nosara, Costa Rica for the last couple of days doing a deep breathwork immersion with my teacher, Ashley Ludman. She's a great breathwork facilitator that I've been working with for about 2 years, I would say. And I did my facilitator training with her in her breathwork modality, which is called breakthrough breathwork. And I was just down in Nosara for a couple of days doing an immersion with her. And something that came up for me while I was down there, and something I've been working through a lot, is like, what have I been hungry for in all this? Whoops, sorry guys. The winds are blowing. What have I been hungry for all these years? Because what I'm going to talk about today is about my eating disorder. Because I have a lot of people constantly, not constantly, but a lot of people asking me about that and asking me to speak more on that topic. So I'm going to be talking not in great detail about my eating disorder, but just some like bigger picture things that I've been thinking about, that maybe if you have been, just considering your relationship with food in your body, or there's someone in your life that you think might, it might be worth them considering what food means to them in their life and what body image means to them in their life. Maybe this is something that you could share with them. But I did post this picture of this macaroon. Not very good. There we go. And I just said, sweet snacks and sweet introspection. All of these years, I was asking myself the question, what have I been hungry for? And what have I been starved of? I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because there's been a lot going on this last year, especially. I mean, I think I probably talked about my eating disorder quite a bit on this program, but I think I started my battle with my body image and food back as young as 14 that I can recollect. I do recall there being issues around my body image a lot earlier than that. Like I can remember in particular in elementary school, grade 6. One instance in particular where I was wearing a very loose t-shirt and a boy in my class came up behind me and pulled the shirt tight to showcase my then developing breasts. And that was it didn't seem like a huge deal at the time, but it was huge in formulating a lot of my ideas about body image and shame of becoming a woman and, you know, having extra flesh on my body. And that was a big part of it. I mean, and that was in grade 6 or 7. And I can go back a lot further and think of other things that had big impact on me as well. But it was around 14, 15, 16 that I really started controlling that area of my life with my eating disorder. And it started with a lot of restricting, which quickly started into full-blown bulimia, where I was binging and purging multiple times a day, abusing my body with laxatives, sometimes taking up to like 64 laxative pills a day, binging and purging my 20s up to like 6-7 times a day, spending $300 a day on food just to binge and purge. So it's been a long battle for me, and I just have been realizing now at 37, 10 and a half months nearly sober from alcohol, the depth of the grasp that this eating disorder has had on me in my life and still does to a certain extent, which has, you know, been really like, whoa, for me in the last little while because I've been talking so freely about it. Jeff, my cousin Jeff is watching, saying I'm killing it. That's so nice. Jennifer's watching. Kelly's watching. Lindsay is saying hello. Lorena's saying sending some love. Melhaven's saying powerful day. Yeah, it is a super powerful day with all of this stuff coming up astrologically, numerology, numerously. But anyways, what I was, you know, where I'm going with all of this is, so I'm 10 and a half months sober from alcohol. And I have shared with people in person and people that I've been talking to in the plant medicine world about my experience. I went into a plant medicine ceremony on October 28th of last year with the intention to finally release the grip that alcohol had over me in my life as my means of numbing and dimming my light and hiding, which is essentially what I was doing all of these years. I was hiding from myself. If people knew me up until that point, I was always very positive and from the outside, seemed very optimistic and happy and joyful and healthy. But I would go home every night after, you know, getting home into my quiet place of just being with me, and I would drink myself into my sleep because I didn't know how to be with myself. I just didn't know myself. I didn't think I was worth knowing. I was terrified of getting to know myself. So the easiest thing to do was just drink myself into oblivion, so I never had to. So the last 10 and a half months, I've really been riding a friggin' wave after tsunami of beginning to know you, courting myself again. And one thing I learned about 3 weeks after that plant medicine ceremony last October was that I still had, that my eating disorder, where my obsessive food thoughts still had a lot of control over me that I didn't even recognize. And I didn't notice and recognize that I had all of these obsessive thoughts still until they disappeared, which was a very welcome side effect of my, you know, going into that ceremony with the intention of becoming sober. Because not only did I receive healing from my addiction to alcohol in that ceremony, but I also dissolved a lot of my obsession over food. I didn't even realize how many hours a day that I was wasting obsessing over what I ate for breakfast, what I was going to eat for lunch, what I was going to have for dinner. And, you know, I mean, obviously I work in the food industry. I've been running a restaurant at Rythmia for 2.5 years now and working as a private chef, and my ex-husband and I had a bakery, so food has been a big part of my life, obviously. But I didn't realize how much of a control it still had for me personally until all of a sudden that little chatter started to disappear, which happened. I noticed that about 2 weeks after I quit drinking. So I think part of that was when I quit drinking, everything just became a lot more clear. I went through a bit of a manic phase. I joke, but my friends weren't joking at the time. Like, I actually had a couple of people pull me aside and be like, Megan, since you quit drinking, have you started doing the cocaine? Because I was super, super manic. Like, wow, life is amazing. Everything is so good. Saying yes to a million things. just going a mile a minute, like all of a sudden I had this depressant out of my system. I was using alcohol to numb, and it was a depressant. It was in my system for like 20 years every single day. So all of a sudden I'd had this depressant cleansed from my system, and I had all of these endorphins and good high vibes and good feelings, and my frequency was just like, you know, so it was a really interesting time, and it still is. I'm still getting you know, processing through all of that. But the awareness that the thoughts about food was not consuming my day has, you know, gifted me so much time and space to devote to other things, which has been a really, really, really beautiful blessing. And I consciously was aware of that. But what I didn't know was that there's still so much more to come. And so when I started asking myself these questions in the last few months, like, who am I? What are my needs? What do I actually love to do? Because that's one thing I realized, you know, a few months after quitting drinking, is I don't really know what I really like to do. Like, I had this mask, this facade that I wore all these years, that I was like even like my Instagram profile, my Facebook profile would say things like yogi, wino, foodie, like runner, all of these things. And I'm like, that's not really who I am anymore. I run maybe twice a week now. I used to run religiously. Obviously I don't drink wine, and I realize now I never really liked wine. The taste of it kind of like now it like turns, ugh, no thanks. I don't need that fermented ickiness. So I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out what it is that I really like and what I really want to do with myself. And as part of that process, I went on a trip this past July, which I shared about it a lot openly with the trip on social media, but I didn't go into a lot of details. But I did go on a trip to Europe. Main reason being was to meet up with a man that I just met about a month prior, and we had hit it off and had a great time here in Costa Rica, and he was going to be in Croatia, so I flew to Croatia, and with the intention of having a beautiful, you know, week-long, no, was it 2 weeks? 10? No, it was a couple of weeks time there. But 3 days in, it was very clear that it wasn't working. We had very different ideas about what made a good vacation, what made a love-filled, positive life. And so I decided 3 days in to hop on a plane and go to Italy by myself, which was huge. I mean, huge decision, like really spur of the moment, other side of the world, went to meet up with a man, didn't work out. I'm like, I'm out of here. But not before we shared a beautiful sunset gelato on the Adriatic Sea, which was like mind-blowing for me, because I hadn't really allowed myself to just fully enjoy ice cream without mental chit-chat about it in years, because ice cream was a huge trigger food for me, and one of the foods that I binged on regularly for many, many years, because, and I'm going to share this with you, and it might be too graphic for you, but it was easy to barf up. Ice cream was a great tool for me to use to line my stomach, so anything else I ate would come up very easily, because I was binging and purging as a way to, the food itself was a drug that I was numbing myself with, and then the purging was a cycle of cleansing and creating a level of invisibility and acknowledging my unworthiness. Like, that was a lot of my process around the eating disorder. So ice cream was a really uncomfortable food for me for a long time, but I really enjoyed it in Croatia and allowed my body to just really feel into it, and there was no chit chat around that in my brain, which was really, really cool. And then the next level of that trip was going to Italy, spending 5 days in Rome by myself, not drinking wine, not even having the desire to drink wine, which was pretty crazy. I was in Rome, for crying out loud. Like, literally sitting on cobblestone, alleyway roads, eating pasta and bruschetta for lunch, and being okay with that. Loving every moment of it, savoring it without any thought that maybe I should eat this or this or this later to make up for, which was along a lot of my mental chit-chat that I had for a long time. Like, oh, if I had pasta and bread for lunch, maybe I should just have a salad for dinner. Like, bullshit. Let's call it what it is. But that, I mean, I'm sharing this because I know I'm not the only one that has these types of thoughts, because I know I have conversations with girlfriends out for dinner, like, and they just say that, with like almost flippantly, like, oh, it's okay, I'm gonna have pasta because I had a green smoothie for breakfast. I'm like, you can have pasta whether you had waffles and pancakes for breakfast. Like, there's no rules. But we've got so many rules that we've created for ourselves. So that trip was another huge awakening for me about the depths of the control that food has on us and our habitual ways of thinking and living. Because alcohol is something that we can abstain from, right? We can make the choice. Like, I just make a conscious choice now. I don't drink. And it's not, I'm not going to meetings. People often ask me, do I go to meetings? Am I doing any sort of program? No. Since that medicine ceremony, I just had no desire to drink. Do I think I ever will? No. Will I? Maybe. Who knows? But I don't feel the need to drink because I know the damage that it did to me emotionally, spiritually, and physically through all those years. And I just want to honor my body, and I'm grateful that it's had the ability to bounce back, bounce back the way that it has. So I'm just not going to poison it anymore. But maybe, who knows, 10 years down the road, maybe I'll have a glass of champagne at someone's wedding. I don't know, but you know, and I'm not planning for it. It's not what I want to do, but if it happens, it happens. But as I was saying, alcohol is something we can abstain from. Food is not. So it's something that I face every day, and I know that there's many people out there that can relate, especially if you have an eating disorder past, whether it's full-blown eating disorder or just like a dysfunctional relationship with food and body. This is something that we cannot avoid because we need to eat however many times a day that our body wants us to. So it's a constant, you know, I don't like to say that I'm necessarily recovered from my eating disorder, but I live a recovered life, and it's a conscious choice every day, just like it's a conscious choice not to drink every day. So I actually made some notes. I'm just referring to my notes up here. So back to the beginning of my conversation here. Is anyone asking anything? Sorry, I'm not paying attention. Jackie saying hi from Florida. Nancy G saying hello. Mel saying congratulations. Thank you. So the big questions: who am I? What do I want from life? Like, I realized just this past week, you know, doing a lot of deep work and meditation and having this break from Rythmia has allowed me to just really sit at home and be. Like, I just spent a couple of hours this morning on my sofa, just breathing in to myself and what it was that I wanted to do for the day. Honestly, I was like, what do I have? What do I want? I have nothing I need to do today. I arrived back to my house from Nosara at 7 a.m. I had the day free other than this Facebook Live. So it was really like, what do I really want? What does my soul really want today? And I'm also asking that question in a grander scope these days, like, what do I want in this life? And I realized that what my soul has been crying out for all of these years is just to have a fulfilling life of my own, however that seems to be. Not living it for anyone else, not living it for my parents, not living it to live up to my sisters and who they were, not living up to what society expects of me, not living up to the world of the media that I worked in for so long. You know, it was always just about going, you know, the party lifestyle and becoming the director. Like, I should be wanting to direct like the biggest award shows in Canada, like all of these things that I'm like, this is never really what I wanted. And I've just realized that what my soul has been missing in these years is, and as it relates to my body, like my physical sense, like my belly, my sacral chakra, my root chakra, like all of my eating disorders, really, like, it's, I realize I relate it to those chakras, sexuality and creativity, birthing. Like, these are things that I was abstaining from in a very conscious way for many, many years. Eating and allowing my creativity to flow, allowing to follow my passions. And I'm just finally at 37 years old asking myself these things, like, what is it that I really want to do? And I realized just like in the last 2 weeks that maybe I do want to have a fucking baby. What? After telling myself for the last 20 years I don't want one, mostly just telling myself I don't want child because doctors told me for so many years that I couldn't because of my eating disorder. I lost my period around 15 and I didn't get it back until I was 35. Last time I went to the doctors and checked, I had 26 cysts in my ovaries. Like, there's just been so many health reasons. I had bone density problems, low estrogen. Like, I was in like essentially premenopause when I was 29, when I was working with my naturopath. You know, so there was all these people telling me I couldn't have kids. And I had been telling myself for many years, even as a child, like a young child, like, I don't want to have a baby. I don't want to have a baby. And I've been following that storyline all of these years. Whereas now I'm like, maybe I do want a baby. Maybe. But does that mean I want to have an actual, like, flesh and blood niña, little hijo or hija, child? Maybe, but maybe it just means I want to birth something greater than myself. Whether that is a creative endeavor, finally writing my book, like birthing something that it hasn't become a twinkle in my eye yet, as they say. You know, so that's been pretty exciting. And I'm actually choosing to spend a lot of this time that we are closed working on my book, which I've talked quite a little bit about on here, But it's a book that I started writing in 2012, and it is my memoir. I think that would be the term that I'm using, because it's like my story. I'm changing a lot of names and things like that to protect those that were involved in certain scenarios. But this book is, as I feel into it, even when I say this, my book, I can feel it. I feel like it's a birth. It's something that's burning, it's firing within me that needs to be released. So that is the first pregnancy. I can feel it. It's growing. I'm pregnant with my book. And I'm hoping to have it written by the end of this year, and I'm going to be shopping it around. I've been seeking out a literary agent currently to help me with that. And, I just want to, maybe I'll share a couple of things like that. So I have all these little notes every time I think of something that I need to add into my book or something I need to pull from. Like I have, here's a list. Here's a list of content. I'll just read it out to you just to pique your interest. Belle porn. TV career, Tony Robbins, school bus, womb, breathwork, ayahuasca, iboga, fitness, fresh restaurants, yoga teacher, shift to food yoga, first cigarette. I have lawns catching on fire, beer in the bedroom, cigarettes on the balcony, rollerblading, raking the grass, trampoline, willow trees, peacocks, skating, sex, school bus, rape, 20s, camping, Long Point, boobs, ass man, Queen West, going to the bars alone, wingman guy, nameless men, bulimia. Like I have cutting, cranberries, the movie Mad Love, wrists, poetry, named The Devil Dove, like dad, my father, ALS, FTD, all of these things. All the different deaths that I've had to attend and funerals, alcohol, and like my very first time getting super drunk. I've got notes about that. My first French kiss, so big ones, plant medicines, like there's just so much that I need to birth. So I'm super excited about that. And I think that this is going to be another big level to my healing process when it comes to my eating disorder. And I think that if we can all, I believe that my alcoholism and my eating disorder were symptoms of a deeper trauma. And I am working every day to find the root. All of the modalities that I've used to heal up until this point have been amazing because they've given me healing and they've gifted me with a life worth living and a life that I can be present in and love and enjoy and embody myself so fully that it now allows me to do this deeper work to find the root, answer the root question of who am I and what have I been hungry for? Why have I been starving myself of A, B, C, and D? And what can I do to fuel myself and nourish myself with these things now in a healed state, which I don't think if I hadn't done all of these modalities, the breathwork and the plant medicine, I wouldn't be in the position to even to do this research for myself. So the eating disorder for me, and I believe for a lot of people, is a symptom of something greater. A lot of us have had sexual trauma, whether that's abuse, incest, harassment, rape. There's a huge percentage of women with especially bulimia that there's a history of that in their life. So now it's the healing process for me and birthing the things that my soul desires in order to be even more fully healed. So in closing today, how long did I go here? Only 23 minutes, that's not bad. In closing today, I want to share one angel card. I did this for you guys last week, but this was a card that I pulled for a friend this afternoon. I've been pulling him cards most days, and this was the card that I pulled for him. I haven't even shared it with him yet. But the card I pulled was Let Your Past Go. Here's the image. Let your past go. And it says, the angels say, the burden of carting your past around has made you weary, dear one. It's time to set this burden down. Keep only the lessons and the love and leave everything else behind. You don't want it or need it, and it's now gone. So that is what I leave you with all today. I'm taking that to heart. Letting my past go, moving forward, I believe is the only way to live at this point for me. I don't need to regress. I don't need to go back to any of those dark places. Emotionally anyways, or spiritually, now we can just move forward and birth all the things that are welcoming my soul to give birth to. So, Kenneth is saying hello. Who else is saying hello? Da, da, da. Dylan James is saying hello. Adriana's giving me kisses. Oh, so good. Jax is saying, hey, this is the first time I see you live. I have to say the first time I followed you in video. I can't see the whole comment. I'll have to come look at that afterwards. Dylan is saying I wasn't expecting such a deep stream today. Sorry guys, I know you're probably expecting me in the kitchen being goofy, but there was just some things that needed to be said. Next week I will tell you that I'm going to be live in Canada. I'm just checking my calendar because I don't even know what day it is. It's September 9th. So next Sunday I'm going to be live in next week I will be live in Canada. Maybe from my mom's house. I'm going to be traveling just for a week, and then I'll be back live in Costa Rica the week after that. So stay tuned. I can't remember what the content is going to be. I think it's probably going to be food related. So if you're hoping for a cooking video, stay tuned for next week's session, and we'll be doing that. Otherwise, I wish you guys a beautiful week. Happy new moon. Happy second week of September already. Where does the time go? And if you have any questions or comments, shoot me a message. You can do it through the Rythmia app here. You can find me through Facebook, friend me, Meg Pearson, or my business one is probably better, Meg and Pearson Culinary Wellness, I think I have it called now these days. Or find me on Instagram, send me a message, and I'll do my best to get back to you guys. If you have any questions, or if there's anyone that you know that is dealing with any sort of body image issues, relationship, with food, or if you know someone with a full-blown eating disorder, you can reach out to me. I know a lot of people that work in that realm all over the world in different capacities that could probably help in more depth than me. If you're looking for someone that could just possibly help relate and have conversations candidly, I'm your girl. I'm more than happy and willing to talk to anyone, share my story, because I believe that's a huge part of what can help heal, is just giving ourselves permission to talk about it. So that's my live for today, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful sunny Sunday, and we'll see you guys next week. Mwah. Ciao.